Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning.
Happy Friday, y'all.
Sometimes I'm really grateful that not everybody that watches us can see what happens backstage as we're running all the stuff, because it's like, oh, there's a smooch and there's a honey and there's a do the thing and all of that. So yeah, as
when
prepare.
we're not mad at each other.
That doesn't happen very often.
I'm not allowed to be mad. So.
You just don't get mad.
That's true. I really don't.
Yeah. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It is just kind of a what's in the news mishmash.
Yeah.
And so, if you've got something that you would like to have a chat about too, just go ahead and throw it in the comment section. Absolutely. Let us know. But we do have a list of things.
A lot of updates. Let's get our calendar updates out.
We're going to start with, is there anything just on, anything? No, there's not anything like, we're doing yard work.
No, for us personally, no.
For us personally, we live a very boring life now, and it's just it's actually, we love it.
Mm-hmm.
We love not being in the rat race of having to go and travel and being able to do what we do, but do it from home.
Absolutely.
And do it at our own pace.
Yeah.
And in our own flow. And it's just such a blessing. Just really, really.
And we've talked about that I've talked about that with dealers in our virtual formats and some of the meetings that I've had. So today we've got some updates from some of the DMS providers and some of the other stuff around the industry. But yeah, the whole virtual format with the V8 thing it's popular. I mean, people are liking it.
Yeah.
We just have example after example of, people, why that thing is making sense. And
so
it's good.
Yes. And so, some of the bigger things that conferences and things that happen, we offer to, like, if you want us to join you virtually and do something, all of that. So no one's yet taken us up on it, because I think it's a little bit scary when it, like, tech. Like, what does that mean? And do I have to learn anything too? So
that's a good point. I think we don't talk about it a lot, but we've had people ask us to come and speak at their conference, and we said, unfortunately, we're going to have to stick to virtual.
Yeah.
And we got even additional reasons now to not travel, but just on a personal level, family members and family matters, and so that is another element. But
all dealers have these kind of things come up too, which is like why we do this, is so you can, on your own time, in your own space, without the expense of whatever, how can we help?
It's not that we don't see the value of being in person, but we also see the expense and the requirements of that travel. And we just have kind of made that decision for ourselves.
Yeah. But there's a lot that you can gain from going to a conference. It's like, we are not anti-conference.
Not at all.
We're just anti us having to be at very many of them.
Yeah, there's actual time away. There's the travel expense element and the kind of the stresses.
And I watch some of our vendor colleagues, and it's just like
the hours and miles.
I mean, yes, there are benefits. You get like super mega diamond blingy status on your airlines. You can use it for vacations.
For me, it's the power of a handshake. It's like being there in person and being able to,
That's true. Because before I joined Jim, when I worked for a tech company, I traveled 2 weeks a month. I mean, I wasn't married and I could just do that. And we would have conversations with my superiors, whatever. I hate that word. And they're like, okay, justify doing this because we're looking at, we need to cut here or there, and it's like, really, to have that face-to-face contact with all of our clients every month. And so, because every time we go into a new property, it's like, oh, we have a new manager. Oh, we have a new person that doesn't know how to use the stuff. So there is a lot of value in that too.
Besides just support, just relationships, just being there in person, is obviously worth something. I just think for us, it just feels right to, and so I think with the state associations, we're happy to appear at your state association. We definitely want to support the association. We think we can better serve that by appearing virtually and bringing some really great guests
virtually,
virtually to the event. So
that
people
doesn't
get
have to
comfortable
be
with that over time.
broadcast to everybody on the planet. It can just be for the people that are at the conference, kind
absolutely.
of thing.
So they'll grow comfortable with that as we kind of
eventually
have a chance to prove it out. So that's all good. But let me get a couple of updates in. We got some DMS updates that there's some real progress on that.
I'm excited about
portfolio
this.
summary.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm meeting last night at a first meeting with Group 5, which is the again one of these, which is those groups that are those dealers that are 500 to 2,000 accounts in their portfolio, and it just illustrates the problem that we've got in portfolio analysis. It's like trying to identify the principal balance. I mean, they're sending in reports that are off by big amounts. And this is like the CFOs sending this stuff in. These are people who should know the software, should know the significance of what we're doing. And it just, the numbers are so far off. And it's like, so in our conversation last night with the dealers, we were able to talk through that and why it matters and why we want to dig in and get that stuff tightened up. And so it just is another example of why, and they see the value. The dealers say, yeah, absolutely. And I was able to say, I want to get to plus or minus 1%. And I had one dealer say, I want to get to the penny.
And you have clients that do that. So
absolutely,
but it's taken a bit of work and digging through, like, why are we off by 1%? What are the things that are off by 1%? And what do we need to create a new filter, or what do we need to create a new thing so that it doesn't show up? It's
creating custom reports. Sometimes it's like it just baffles that some of the standard reports don't include this column of information. And so thankfully some of the systems have it available. You just have to know where to find it and how to create that custom report. But with some of the systems, it's just a real battle to get. And
we have our fingers in a lot of different systems too.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah, I have reporting access to tons of systems, and so we're currently working with about 6 and V8.
So update on where we're at, because those of you who've been listening, we talked a little bit about it on Wednesday, but we put out this request to all the DMSs to be able to create this report that every dealer across the country has the ability to do in their DMS. And so it's like at the first of the month, because this is not something that has to have a lot of bookkeeping fingers in it or anything. It's just like, how did we do last month?
Right.
And so when you come in on Monday or, whatever, it's like, this is how we did. So we've got some really great headway and progress on that. So,
absolutely. So one of the things we're going to be doing in that regard, and I'll get a video out to our V8 members, but any members that are listening or any dealers out there that are listening that just want to start to work through this process with us, I would say, and it's a holiday weekend, so it'll be a tough time to do this, but I would just say, grab your notes receivable report, make sure it includes principal at the close of the month. I know you could wait till the 5th of the month and try to run a notes receivable report for August 31. But I think in order to really make sure that we've got apples to apples and that we're working from a snapshot balance, I would recommend that we capture that at the close of business. You've got 2 business days where you're going to be closed Sunday and Monday probably. So over the weekend, before you have any new business activity on the month of September, grab that notes receivable report to include principal, and then we can work from there.
Well, and a lot of DMSs, well, there are not a lot. There are DMSs that you can schedule reports.
Right.
So you don't physically have to do it, but it'll be sitting in a bucket for you to be able to pull. And
which is a big value.
Absolutely. So explain to, I'm pretty sure I understand all the reasons why, but for our listeners out there, why it's important to do it as close to the moment the month closes as possible.
Well, because if we're going to ever get to any kind of accurate, let's just focus on portfolio performance. So portfolio is the largest asset in these buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here businesses. So I just first want to be able to help dealers analyze the performance of that portfolio. So in order to do that, we have to know what is the movement of dollars in that portfolio.
But why is time? What are the things that can get screwed up if you do it 4 days into the month?
Well, just with some systems, you can't really rely on that information. They don't calculate backwards well.
Okay, so it's the system, and it's we see a lot of different things. It's like, well, payments came in, but they posted and so it just kind of messes up. It's to get the cleanest, which gets you closer to by the penny.
Yeah.
Too, is to to if you've got a DMS that allows you to schedule that report, you're looking for, now again, what is the report?
The new report?
The
notes receivable is the one I'm saying grab
receivables.
that
So
to include principal balance.
to include principal balance. And then, next week we can have a chat about what
why
you
we're
should be
using that.
looking
We can take them
at
through an
and all of
exercise
that.
in the month of September as we work through it with our other V8 dealers and why we think it's so important. And so as these DMS providers are working on this portfolio summary report, it'll become more clear to everybody why it is that we, why is this just Jim's wish list? Well, it's way more than that. It's like, this is something that in this business that we're in, we should be able to track and identify these portfolios and the movement in there so that we can pin this stuff down.
Yeah. And I'm kind of getting that good enough is just not good enough anymore.
No.
And because, we do have, that's the thing, is that it's not paper pushing and adding columns that you're doing it manually. There is so much technology out there that we it's as a business owner, you should be able to, because like you're going to rely, when you go into QuickBooks, it's going to have it down to the penny about where money's gone, what and you might have to shift, but it's like you're going to know what you need to know from something like,
you mean like bank reconciliation?
Yeah, like bank I mean, there's softwares out there that just, they are able to do that. And when we know too that all the DMSs have the ability, it's just the bandwidth to be able to create and make the stuff happen.
Yeah.
That is the challenge. And so for the most part, we've got a handful of DMSs that are really close to releasing this report.
Yeah, for sure. I had a meeting with one yesterday that showed me on the screen the report. They're a software that does both leasing and buy your payer, and they've done the leasing one first, which in my mind would be the harder one to do.
Which is then, okay.
Maybe that's my own lack of knowledge about some of the.
But maybe they did the hardest one first, so the next one is just like most of the groundwork is there, just different things we have to add in. Boom, boom, boom.
Can't say, but either way, it's just nice to see it on the screen. It says White Hat Way portfolio summary report, and so it's going to be nice. Dealers can go find that thing and know why we think it's important, and that they'll be able to run it in these systems soon. And so that's a nice piece of progress to be able to report.
And we will have the DMSs when that is done, come on and talk about it. And, I know that we're happy to, all right, dealers that have this is what you're looking for. This is how you find it. This is what you pull. Here's how, all of the stuff. So
and then once that's available, we'll be able to create templates that they'll be able to run that report, spit out the column for the month of August, and here's your portfolio performance.
I'm really excited for dealers, and
for sure.
And that's a big deal for you too, because it's something you've been trying to get.
They don't know how much they need it, so I'm going to keep telling them. So,
well, I mean, it's like we said, it's that a lot of businesses in this industry are like, it's good enough. It's good enough. It's good enough. And it's like, it doesn't have to be good enough. And you don't have to be like a numbers nerd, and you don't have to be an Excel spreadsheet person, and you don't have to be, all these things. It's just going to help you be a better business person.
Right.
Yeah. So it's good stuff.
Make good decisions based on clean, accurate numbers. And in our case with V8, it's like comparative numbers, so that I know if I'm comparing dealer A to dealer B, they're using the same methodology and their numbers are clean. They're accurate.
Which is something we struggle with in the industry, is like, what is an apple to you? What's an orange to you? Well, it's like, let's define apples and oranges. And so we can now,
and that's kind of why I focus on this principal summary report. I think we can we better all, because we have a responsibility to the consumers that we finance, we better all be on the same page in terms of what principal balance means. And that's even another one with some of these systems. I've been on chat threads where they're like, oh, this column right here is principal balance. No, it's not. It's not. And you should know that if you're in a position to be educating dealers.
And that's the thing, is that and that's one of the struggles that you experience all the time, is that the people training the dealers have no idea what a dealer does.
Yeah, that's true.
They only know their software.
Right.
And so, and it's like, so we appreciate, when we were at the conference in June in Vegas, we had a DMS provider that just like, oh, Jim and Michelle showed us a picture of the podcast. And it's like, and they were support. He was over support. And he's like, we watch so we can learn.
Yeah, good.
And it's like, excellent.
Yeah.
That's because so many of the salespeople, so many of the support people, so they know their software in and out, and they know what they've been taught, but they don't know from being in the trenches. And that is one of the Jim's a unicorn.
Yeah.
You've been in the trenches and you know, all of that and lots of different software. So it's like, okay, I know what a principal balance looks like.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So other matters for we got a couple of events coming up. I want to make sure and mention that folks can go to the Mid-Atlantic. Let me find the domain here and share it. I might have
that's coming up. It's like 5 days.
Yeah. 15 days.
15 days. Sorry. It's 2 weeks.
It starts on Sunday, the 15th.
Yep.
And so, no,
I knew there was a 5 in there because we talked about it this morning. So I just dropped a.
No, but you can go to midatlantic.iada.org and you can get yourself registered for that. I saw a deal on Facebook that TaxMax was providing.
Anyone that's a client, they'll cover your costs. And I mean, it's like the ticket and hotel.
I don't know. I didn't see
something like that. So, I mean, if you're a client of TaxMax, who we are friends with, you know, and it's a great, it's a great product. If you are, and you've, you know, that I think what they're trying to do is to alleviate any barriers from people coming that can learn. Yeah. And I know that Bill from TaxMax and a bunch of other people, they're putting on like a 3-hour course, and there's a lot of different people, a lot of different vendors that are there to help teach how you can improve your profits and all of that for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And I will just take a moment to put in a mention for TaxMax. You know, I'm familiar. I'm quite familiar. I used it as a manager back in Oklahoma, way back in the late 90s, and had a lot of success with it. So I shared on social media not long ago when people are asking about it. I can tell you the difference between because you'll hear some dealers say, oh, we did it and it fell flat. We didn't really do much with it. We're not going to do it again. Well, typically I can tell you what it would take to really utilize that well. And I'm just saying it's a nice tool and a nice solution for a dealer to have in their pocket when it comes to tax refund, especially, you know, here we are having this conversation right before September starts, and it's a really good time to get familiar, get trained
right
up,
now. Get
your team on board and be able to really promote it effectively. Then you can really win a lot of business. And
and you know, dealers were like, it's only September and we're not even there. I'm not even buying cars for tax season. It's one of those things that it will be, it's time to start thinking about that. So if you have been thinking about bringing that onto your into your dealership, now's a good time.
Yeah, and we've got some educational material out there. Like I recently shared the little short. We got 2 or 3 sessions in there on TaxMax, and I think we just want to make sure people know, because it's a great tool for dealers if they'll just take the time to understand what it is. I don't know
if I have that available just as someone to click on to.
I think I put it on YouTube, so I was able to share.
It's on YouTube.
I was able to share
because I think in the Institute we just had it there to be able to send to people.
So go to our YouTube channel. Let me show people how to get to our YouTube channel. So if you go find our YouTube channel, then you can, it's on the screen now. So if you hop over there and find that, then you can do a search inside our playlist, do TaxMax. You can find a lot of that.
And while you're there, like and subscribe,
Good job.
and subscribe.
So that's because all of our stuff ends up over there. And so at YouTube, you will find
there or the Institute, just kind of depends on what it is general stuff is always there.
Yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned was that you gave me the dates. You said
the policy conference is coming up.
Policy conference.
That's less than a month away.
That'll be in DC, right?
That's in DC. It's less conference style and more meet your representatives.
Right.
And let's talk about the issues that are coming from Capitol Hill that are affecting dealers.
Right.
And so, you know, that things like the CARS rule and the are all going to be part of the conversation, but you actually get to talk to people that are making the decisions and voting on the stuff.
And so, IADA's lobbyists will be there. So you can chat directly with them.
Exactly.
Because they're the ones having those conversations. When you head back to your dealership, they'll still be there doing the job.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think it's good to meet those people and be part of those conversations.
And it's always really helpful. I know that from NIADA's standpoint, they try to make it as valuable to dealers as possible. But the value of having more dealers there is great for NIADA.
Yeah.
And, that they're out there to lead the fight, charge the, all of that for dealers. And so this is another like hashtag JYSA, which all of that is your state and your national association are out there fighting the fight for every dealer, regardless of whether or not you are a member, because everything they fight for, every dealer, it affects every dealer.
Right, for sure.
If you've got a dealer's license, what they're doing is affecting you.
Right.
So,
so let me also point, and we can wrap up, but I want to point folks to a poll that I just put out this morning because it's on interest, it's on earnings, like profits and income. So I asked dealers and a dealer only. I really wanted to only hear from dealers on this because it's really a decision that affects them,
which is a whole nother can of worms. But we can talk about that later. It's so interesting what people define themselves as a dealer. It's like, you're not, but okay.
And this one is just like, I want to hear from dealers, and the results are coming in and they're very slanted, but I don't want to say, what they're slanted toward. But the question is, do you favor, because you have in buy here, pay here, you have two types of earnings, and lease here, pay here too. You have the markup of the car, your gross profit, and then you have the interest income. And so I was asking dealers, do you favor one over the other? Or does it not matter to you because you're favoring cash flow? And so you can get in there and see that poll. I only put it in Success. I'll try to link it elsewhere back into Success, but you would need to be a member of Success in order to get in there and vote.
So let me ask you, because I poll, understand that there's a poll. I don't understand what it matters. I mean, so like for dealers that are out there that don't understand, really, it's like, I understand the words, but I don't understand really what that means beyond just the words, because I'm kind of thinking that part of what you're saying is like, all right, people, if it's about cash flow, then does interest, down payments, I mean, because all of those things kind of just are part of that question.
We're going to need a 4-part series for me to answer that question.
Well, we can do that. We have a platform.
Yeah, that's true. I think it is something and it is something that's naturally evolving in our conversations in the V8 format, because the numbers that we capture, we're able to turn around a lot of ratios and KPIs. And so one of the things that is really coming about is in the numbers that we're presenting, it does become a question when you look at gross profit, because you get these dealers that have, when you put it on a slide, you put 8 dealers on a slide and bar graphs, and
they're like,
wow, this dealer has this much gross profit and this one has a wide gross profit. It's like, why the disparity in business models? Like, okay, you can charge 29% in your state, but why do you choose to? Well, why not do what this dealer does over here, which is this different split?
It's just trying to find
valuable conversation. But I really am starting to help dealers analyze that for themselves to figure out how much gross profit do we really need, which we did the V8 Plus thing with Steve Burke and Brent Carmichael and Jimmy Rambo.
Great, valuable conversation there.
Great,
yeah.
So good. Anyway, the subject matter really is on this thing about how much gross profit should I put in there? And then if you amplify that, I'll just tease the 4-part series by saying, if you
I'm writing this down so we remember.
No, it's right, because we'll sleep tonight and then we'll forget. No, it's like
that's true. We reset, people.
I can tell you though that these conversations in V8, they stimulate this stuff, and we had some we had our beginner meeting earlier in the week.
On Tuesday,
our beginner group, and
these are people that have under 100 accounts.
Yeah. And some of the great questions, like just because they're new doesn't mean they're not super smart.
But just because they're new, they're looking at it from a different point of view, and they're not they're not with the walls that are like, you can't do that, you can't this.
It's always been like this, right?
Yeah.
So that's true. They do bring a new perspective, and we had I should also mention, one of our members couldn't attend last night, but our newest group of the dealers of 500 to 2,000 count, 3 of the 4 first enrolled are women. And so this is really, they also are two of them are newer to the business. And so it's really fascinating to hear their perspective and hear their questions and kind of hear how they think about certain things. But yeah, back to your question about the principal part or the gross profit versus interest. We can think like lenders, right? You can be, if you're a lender. Yeah, but if you're a lender, you're in the finance side of it and you're really interest driven, right? You're not really participating in the gross profit in the same way. So there's that element to consider. And so sometimes we have a line of credit and we're being asked to measure our portfolio performance and track certain things based on that performance. And then I run this poll out there and I just asked the dealers point blank, which matters more to you, interest, gross profit, or does it not matter? And so you can hop in there and take that poll and give your answers and share with us why it is that you feel the way you do on that subject. But I just think as the math comes in and we get more and more data pulled together, that we can present information back to the dealers that is meaningful, and then they can decide for themselves. I'm just trying to put information in front of them and then let them decide, because again, these folks are smart.
Oh yeah.
They just need good information.
Well, and not anecdotal information.
True.
And this is I draw back on the conversation we have with Jack Carter, where he was like, I believed a thing, and then I started measuring the thing and I went, oh, the thing's not true. So now what do I do?
Let me give you one quick example. So this is really just cash, but one of the indexes that I created, or indices maybe is the proper
indices.
Word. Never had a
we love coming up with new words.
Never had a reason to use that word. No, it's like
is it a real word?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
very good.
Anyway, we started measuring something, and last night I was able to present to these newcomers, or this new group, I should say, that as an example, had 2 dealers on the slide, had 8 dealers represented on this slide, and 2 dealers, they both had projected in 24 months, which is this new 24-month projection I've been doing. In 24 months, they were both projected to have the same amount of their portfolio remaining, which was about 35%.
Okay.
So you just basically.
So they're bringing in and cycling out and just
not really bringing in. What I'm doing is I'm taking the portfolio that they have at the close of July.
Oh, okay. So you're putting it in a bucket.
Yep.
And okay.
Like a portfolio bucket.
Okay.
And we're just doing a roll forward. And we're saying this portfolio, based on your collections history, is projected to produce this. And so what I do is I say it's projected to produce this much cash in 24 months. And at the end of that period, there will be this much principal still remaining.
And there were a few that have the exact same amount of principal.
I'm picking 2 as an example because I used those in an illustration last night to just basically say, look at these 2 dealers. They're projected to have the same amount of portfolio percentage-wise in 24 months. They both have the same. However, one was forecasted to collect about 85% and the other one was about 65% money in the bank. So it's just an illustration again of, let's look at the numbers. What do you think? If I'm sitting next to you, you're the dealer collecting 84% of your money.
Describe to me how that is. What are the differences in how things are set up for the loan or whatever that makes that the thing?
Well, keep in mind, we're just now getting to a place where we can really analyze that because we just now started to accumulate enough data, historic data over many months to be able to extrapolate. Because what you don't want to do is look at a single month, and months are up and down in terms of good collections, bad collections.
Which is like any business. You have good months, bad months. You've got in between months.
In our industry, you also have just a little bit of up and down. Some months have 5 Fridays in it, which moves the collections numbers for a certain month, right? So you can, there's things like that you kind of want to even out through trending averages and what have you. So we look at trending averages, and we're now getting enough data strung together, month over month with certain dealers to be able to extrapolate some of this. But what I'm saying is I put the information in front of dealers and say, if I'm collecting 65% of the portfolio, let's say we both closed the month of July with $10 million in receivables, but you're forecasted to collect 85% of that principal in the next 2 years, and I'm only forecasted to collect 65% of the principal. I would want to know why. I need to figure out what is going on over there. How is it that you're able to squeeze more cash out of your portfolio than I am? We got to get to understand that. So we're just now getting to a place where we can put that information in front of dealers and they can begin to analyze for themselves, and we can break it down. But it's like, where's the money going? Why would this dealer only collect 65% of their money? And wouldn't that have a big impact on the value of the portfolio? Now, the people who come in and would bid a portfolio are going to be using collateral recovery rates and some of these same numbers we'd be using.
And, I know a lot of dealers out there that's a great thing to consider. It's kind of like, a prenup with your business, because if something were to happen, and life happens. Life happens to the best of us. Sure. Life happens to those that are like in the best of health or whatever, where if you need to liquidate, isn't it better to be running your business today in a way that your portfolio has the most value, so that if that ever happens, because it's going to help you right now, but it's like in the event of, then I know that I'm not going to be offered 60 cents on the dollar. I'm going to be offered X or whatever it is. Yeah.
And the example I gave last night, you've heard me talk about this. We've talked about on the podcast. Like it doesn't matter what the portfolio is worth if I don't intend to sell it. Obviously, as you said, life can change and we end up selling. But even if we just run it off, we met a dealer out of Texas who decided to retire and is running off their portfolio. So now it's just a question of cash yield. Like what's it gonna produce?
But see, those things that make it attractive to a buyer are because they know they're going to get more money out of it. So by doing those things, you're going to get more money out of it. Right. That's why they want to give you more, because it's more valuable.
Sure.
And the value of your portfolio is based on the decisions you make and how you set up the deal and all of that.
Well, it's always a secondary consideration. In my work, I'm always just trying to work with dealers because again, you can get too many balls in the air and trying to serve too many masters. And so I'm just trying to say, what would be the most cash yield? Because why? Because we can't meet payroll with receivables. We can't, you can go borrow against your receivables, but if we're not wanting to take on debt, it's just, for me, what is the most productive asset? Like what's going to yield the most cash for us against the risk that we're taking? It's not, this goes back to the thing is sometimes we make this harder than it has to be. We kind of get too many ideas.
There's a lot of times people don't realize that a simple decision that they've made has just made it a lot harder. They just don't know.
Yeah. And so I think when you look at the slide and say, buddy, you're projected to yield 65%. I think you need to be asking so-and-so over here.
Let's look in their numbers.
Let's look in their numbers and see what's different. Let's start to figure that out.
Yeah.
So that, because I'm not sitting there pretending to have all the answers.
Yeah. So, and considering too, that we're talking about dealers that are in kind of the same bucket of this is the size of the portfolio and all of that. So
right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all good. I think a lot of progress. We feel good about what we're seeing, and we're thrilled to be able to bring that information to dealers, and we'll continue to bring a lot of good information here through the podcast. And we're soon to wrap up August. We'll have some August numbers to talk about in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Yeah. So. I'm just really, really grateful for what V8 is allowing, the richness of the conversations we're able to have on the air with dealers everywhere from the information that we are gleaning from V8. And it's to benefit all. And, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
such worthwhile stuff. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Enjoy your holiday weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget, you're getting inside of 2 weeks to the event in Atlantic City.
Yep. So if you're going to go,
Mid-Atlantic IADA.org.
All right. Have yourself a great weekend, and we will see you. We will be broadcasting on Monday. So holiday, I don't know if your dealership is closed, but we'll be there.
We'll be there.
So we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks again so much.